Hello everyone, welcome. This tarot reading is for the Taurus child. So if you are a guardian or a parent to a Taurus child, this reading is for you. And as always, if you like the content that I'm putting out, please help me bring up the rankings to this channel by subscribing and, pressing the like button and leaving a comment. This lets YouTube know that people are liking the content, and so it puts it up so that others can also see it. Okay, so welcome to November. This is the November reading for Taurus, your Taurus child, and I'm using the MONSTAROT deck. I love this deck. It's perfect for child's perspective, right? Because that's what this reading is about, right? It's about child's perspective and what it is that they're going through so that you can have some guidance as the parent and the guardian. So, okay, let's move on. I've already shuffled or pre-shuffled the cards, but I will do some more here for you to see. I hope everyone is having a fantastic end of October and a great November. All right, Taurus child, spirit. Okay, so the first question is, what is your Taurus child experiencing during the month of November? What is your Taurus child experiencing during the month of November? Spirit, what is the Taurian child experiencing during the month of November that the guardian or parent needs to be aware of? All right, just one card, please. Oh, that one wanted to flip. That one wanted to flip as well. Let me see what this was. You know, I'm going to take it because it really did want to flip there. This is what your Taurus child is experiencing. That's lovely. I'll show them to you in just a bit. And the next question is, what challenges is the Taurus child facing during the month of November? Challenge or challenges? Yeah, I'm not taking that. That was too many. And don't worry, if they're meant to come out, they will come out again. Believe it or not, it's a thing. It happens. So what's the challenge? What is the challenge that? There you go. Oh, and I think that was one of the second cards that was trying to come out. Beautiful. And what does the Taurus child need most from his or her or their parent or guardian this month of November? And I just want to pause here for a bit and say, even though these readings are, given for specific months, really, when it comes to the esoteric arts, when it comes to tarot, astrology, Reiki, and all that yummy stuff, it's not actually time bound. As readers, we go ahead and give these readings months to organize them and to have something to present to you as the viewers monthly. However, if you happen to stumble upon this a different year or a different month that's not November and it resonates, then it's meant for you. Likewise, if you stumble upon this in November and it doesn't resonate, then it probably is not meant for you. And it just means that you need to come back a different week or a different month, right? Because it's general. I know you all hear that over and over again by different readers, but I just felt like I needed to say that. So if you do come back to this a different month and it resonates, then just take it. It's meant for you. Okay, with that said, what does your child need the most from you in the month of November? So Spirit, what does our little Taurus child need from their parent or guardian during the month of November? What do they need most? Very nice, and that was a definite flipper. Well, they all were, but in different ways. Okay, so let's see, what do we have here? This is beautiful. So we have the King of Cups, and we have the Luminary. Now, these two cards, and especially together, are very, very special. As you can tell, there's a reason I chose this deck, right? It's just lovely, it's beautiful. It really details the vibration of innocence of a child, and this is why I love this deck so much. So, and I don't think it was intended for children, actually. I think that the creator of this deck, this is intended for adults as well. So if you happen to get this deck, you can. I've also done readings for myself using this deck. So it's not for children. I just want to make sure I say that. Okay, so King of Cups. This little guy is doing quite well here, isn't he? So the King of Cups is really about mastering a level of emotion and a level of playfulness, right? Because again, we're talking about this from the perspective of the child. And in this context, the King of Cups suggests that your child, your little Taurus child, is really coming to his or her own in the sense of feeling comfortable in their own skin when it comes to expressing emotion, and also creating and, you know, learning new, taking on new projects with pride. The King of Cups is really about mastering those themes. And what I love about this particular reading here is that it came paired with the luminary. That they both just needed to come out together. So what this is telling me, you may be experiencing, or you may be noticing that your little Taurus has become a lot more affectionate than usual, in a very beautiful, uncomfortable way, or perhaps not towards you, maybe towards his or her playmates or siblings or animals and pets that they may have, as well as stuffed animals, right? Because one thing that I'm trying to remind myself as I do these readings that, you know, stuffed animals symbolically, depending on the age of the child, right? Especially if they're itty bitty babies or children, you can see a lot of their affection and being expressed through stuffed animals if they don't have siblings and they don't have pets, right? So you're going to notice that during the month of November, there's a different way that your child is expressing himself, but it's being comfortable in their own skin also, which is very lovely. It's very, very beautiful. And it also symbolizes being in their element. So maybe you're noticing that your Taurus really very much enjoys the fall. Maybe this is a season that they just happen to feel most comfortable with, right? And, you know, it's interesting because we are in the Scorpio season, which is the opposite of Taurus. But I want to be very careful of how I say opposite, because it doesn't mean contradictory to Taurus. It means the complementary part of Taurus, right? Because it's on the same axis. So Taurus and Scorpio, although opposite from each other, are on the same axis. So they really play well together in the sense of yin-yang, complementary, you know, white, black, you know, or you know what I mean, like the opposites of one another. And so what I'm picking up here is that your child during the season of Scorpio, its complementary sign, is finding his or her their balance in a different way that they hadn't experienced earlier in the year. It's almost as if this season, the fall in particular, is allowing them to be more themselves, more of who they are, or more of who they feel comfortable being. Okay, and here with the luminary, what I love about this deck is that the creator of this deck added this little guy here, the luminary. And this here actually precedes the Fool card. You know, and traditionally, the Fool card is the number 0 card in the tarot, right? And that's what starts the Fool's journey, our tarot journey, right? That's what gets it all going and started. Here in this deck, the luminary is, for me, the way I experience the luminary is almost like the indigo child, right? Something so special and so different and unique about your child's experience during the month of November needs to be highly regarded and respected. So you're going to notice that your child is entering into this phase of the luminary, or somewhat like the indigo child. And I highly encourage you, if you don't know what that is, just Google it and get some insight on it. Basically, it means they're on a different level. They're ahead of their years. And in many ways, the indigo child has come here to change the route that we have previously established, right? Like make it better, improve upon it, spiritually, materially, and all that good stuff. But you go ahead and you do your own research on it, because I think it'll be especially important for you to understand it concerning your little Taurus here, because your Taurus seems to be gravitating towards, it's almost, and I don't want to say spiritual in a woo-woo kind of way or a religious, dogmatic kind of way. It's almost like a peaceful inner essence, like an inner light. And not just an inner light, but an external light. Like they're being drawn to all things light and good and yummy. And they're comfortable in that. They're becoming comfortable being good, being of service to others. I just saw very clearly that some of you have Centaurian children who are becoming interested in giving to others, whether it be homeless shelters or pantry shelters or what have you. There's something here, there's some kind of interest that you're going to notice that comes out of nowhere from your little Taurus child in the month of November that surprises even you. And that makes you, almost exposes you to a new way of doing things and teaches you a different way of operating. So I strongly encourage that you just allow your Taurus child to lead you, because that's what this is about. This is the little leader here. The King of Cups is not only mastering his emotions and his creativity. This little guy here, paired with the luminary, is also learning how to share that and teach that in his own way, not meaning to, but by example. And you're going to notice that your child wants to also pull you into this, or that you feel drawn to whatever this new idea is that your child is going towards. I'm getting a huge indication here of service. So you may have a little one that all of a sudden says, Mom, I want to give socks to homeless people, or it's going to be different for every household, right? But you're going to notice there's an interest there in expressing gratitude and expressing whatever it is they want to share with others. That's very, very beautiful. And the luminary here is just perfection. So here's the King of Cups. And we have the little luminary. Just adorable. Look at that. Look at that little guy and how in touch they are with that inner light and that outer light. It's just abundant. Okay, and the challenge. And this is very interesting, right? Because we have two kings here. So you have a little Taurus that's growing up rather quickly here, that's becoming a little master of all that they are learning. Like there's a rapid curve here, rapid learning, rapid access to expansion, spiritual, whether it be spiritual, material, creative, right? And again, when I say material, of course, it's going to be different for a child, right? Like when we think material, we think of jobs, careers, savings, 401k, money, all the tangibles, or homes, or mortgages, all of that, right? But when it comes to tangibles and material for a child, it's a different element, not a different element, rather different themes, right? So for them, it could be a little bit more spiritual. It could be the toys that they own, the animals that they care for. It can be the projects that they're creating, right? Whatever it is that they technically own or create as children, right? So the challenge, it's interesting because you have this abundance here. You have a little bit of a dichotomy going on here where you have this essence of, I want to share, I'm very curious, but perhaps you're also dealing with an only child here who, because again, remember, this is in the challenge position, right? So we're reading it as a challenge. So perhaps you have a little guy who is not used to sharing or hasn't learned to share in the past, or has so much and isn't aware of what they have, right? And doesn't know where to start or how to start, right? Like you see, he has his little friend here. And his little friend is just kind of hanging out with him, but he's not really sharing anything with his little friend. You see, he's got the grapes hanging out there. He's got those apples. He's the king of his pentacles, right? And he's there with his friend, but he doesn't seem to be, he's enjoying his friend's company, but he's not necessarily giving his friend the little goodies that he has there, right? So the challenge that I'm sensing here is that your child really wants to be, this is what he, she, they are experiencing, right? But they don't know how to tangibly do that, right? How to actually physically do that. The intent is there. Their heart is open to this giving and abundance and service to others and expressing love to others. But in terms of actually physically doing it and letting go of the tangible, they're having a hard time with it, not because they don't want to, but because they don't know how to. Or perhaps they just need you, the guardian, to give them permission, to let them know it's okay. We can do that. Or we can be creative on how we do this. And it doesn't mean you have to give up everything. This could also be the flip, right? It can be that your child, the challenge is they want to give everything away. They want to share maybe so much that they don't even have anything left for themselves. So that's also a balance thing that we have to, because remember, this can work vice versa, right? So as a challenge, it can be that they don't actually know how to share. And as a flip, it can mean that they're giving too much, right? Because the King of Pentacles, when it's not a challenge position, it's about having mastered not just the creation of wealth, the accumulation, but also how to keep it and share it at the same time. Like the King of Pentacles has mastered not just making the coins, but keeping them and maintaining them and growing them so that they can also continue giving to others, right? So it's a nice balance. So yeah, so there's a little bit of that. And we'll come back at the end. I'll actually pull an advice card for you, the guardian, the parent. And usually that card is tied to the challenge as advice in terms of how to handle the situation. So it's nice to be aware of this, because here, what's beautiful about getting readings like this is like, obviously it's not solving all your problems, but it's giving you insight so that you have the heads up, if you will, so that you can be aware of it and be on the lookout for these types of behavior or this want and intention that your child has, so that you can be the encourager, right? So that you can facilitate that want that your child has here in the month of November. So we'll come back later after we read what your child needs most from you. We'll come back to the advice from Spirit for you on how to handle this. So let's move on to what your child needs most from you. And this is very interesting, right? Because the Nine of Pentacles, usually comes, not usually, it does always come before the King of Pentacles, right? In the deck. So you have the Nine of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles, then you merge into the page and yada yada, and eventually you move to King of Pentacles. So what this suggests is that in terms of what your child needs the most from you, the parent, is a reminder, right? A reminder, bringing your child back a couple of notches, and first and foremost, allowing them to explore what's valuable to them. allowing them to explore what's important to them. And in that, it'll also help them figure out what's important to hold on to versus what's important to let go of. I hope that makes sense. That's very specific, so I think that really is meant for someone or a number of you that are going through something similar. I think part of the challenge here could be that your child is having a difficult time figuring out what they hold most important, right? Because the Nine of Pentacles is about independence of thinking, independence materially. Now remember, we have to keep it within the context of the child. So for this, in this regard, it's about inner value, right? So if it's coming up in the position of what your child needs most from you, it's important for you as a parent to point out, to give them enough room and space, enough independence so that they themselves, for themselves, can figure out what really matters to them. And that in turn will help the challenge here and will also confirm this lovely experience that they're having, right? So bottom line, your child needs you to back off. And I want to say this came up last month for Taurus as well. I can't remember, and I apologize if that's not the case, but I want to say it did. And you know, a lot of times little Taurians, they can be a little stubborn, but that's what's so beautiful about them. Part of the stubbornness is they kind of want to go at it on their own, right? And with a Taurus, if you allow a little Taurian to do their own thing at their own pace, and the way that they want to do it, they have a much higher chance of really getting it and learning the lesson on their own in a way where it'll stick, right? So here it's really a reminder that your child needs you to back off from maybe inserting too many of your ideas on how you think he, she, they should handle this. Like maybe allow them to come to their own determination, of course, within reason, right? You still need to parent. Totally get that. And at the same time, you could benefit from giving your child some space so that they can really just figure it out on their own. And that way they actually mean it and they stand behind it with conviction, which is actually something very important to a Taurus, right? Like they need to be able to stand by what they believe in with conviction, because that is the key word for a Taurus, is conviction, determination, and consistency. So that's something that's very important. Okay, so let's see for advice. Let me see what Spirit wants to give you as advice. And again, I've already pre-shuffled the cards, but I'll do it again. Yeah, I want to say the Nine of Pentacles did come up last month for Taurus. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. Okay, Spirit, what advice do you have for the parent, guardian of the Taurus child for the month of November? The Ace of Feathers. Nice. I'll show it to you in just a bit. So the Ace of Feathers. Beautiful, right? Stunning. So the Ace of Feathers is mental clarity and foundation. So the Ace of Feathers, traditionally, you would know this as the Ace of Swords. So it is about, in terms of advice from Spirit on how to deal with the issue, is really just being clear, right? Especially Taurus. Taurus do appreciate full disclosure, clarity, and going back to the root here, because the Ace of Feathers talks about foundation also, right? Going back to the beginning of the words that have been taught, or because it's all about, the Swords is all about the mind, right? It's communication, it's how we think, it's how we inform ourselves through our experiences of what is going on, right? Our mental stability as well. And so here, there's a need to go back to basics. So I think your child here, in terms of the challenge, because remember the advice generally is tied to your child's challenge here. So there's a lack of clarity. And you're going to know what this is for you. It's going to be different for every household, but there's some mismatch between this intent that your child wants and the actual act of it. There's something that's not aligned. And what it comes down to is a misunderstanding. Well, if I do this, it will mean X, Y, Z, right? And it just could be a complete misunderstanding of it. Like, for example, again, this is just an example. If your child really wants to give to, let's say, the homeless, because we've used that example, so let's stick to that example. And they want to do that, their heart wants to do that, but there's a misunderstanding. Well, does that mean that I won't ever get a new shirt if I give this shirt to this homeless boy or girl? Or does this mean that I won't have clothes for another 6 months? Or what does this mean about me? Or is this something that can happen to me? Right? So there's some misalignment here that all it requires really is for you to step in as the guardian or parent, go back to the basics, go back to foundation, and clearly communicate with your child about what it really means, right? And again, this is going to be different for everyone in every household, and you're going to know what it means for you. But it is about you clarifying, and here's what I just heard, clarifying the effects, the circumstance of an action. Because I think your Taurus is confused about the circumstance. Like, if I do this, XYZ may happen, or XYZ may not happen. And here in advice, Spirit is saying to clarify that, to make things clear, confirm things, and go back to the foundation of why this thing is important, and what it means to your child, and how it may affect the child, or how it may not affect the child, because there is some confusion here. And it's very fuzzy for me, even right now, just articulating that. So then I feel that your child is also having a hard time communicating what that confusion is. But I think after this reading, or even without this reading, I think you're going to see, you're going to get hints of, like, clues of, oh, my little Taurus thinks that if she does this, it means XYZ. It could also be, that if we flip it, it could mean that they think that giving means something for them. Like it could be, there could be a little selfishness in the background there, but I don't think so, because I feel very good intention here. I feel like this burst of expression of love, like your child just wants to give and be of service. But that doesn't mean that there's not like that one or two or a handful of little ones who really only want to give because they think it means they'll get new toys or more new toys or something else if they give. So there's a need for you to clarify the circumstance, or the cause and effect of whatever it is they're wanting to do, right? And always bringing it back to this, because this is very important, reminding the child what is valuable to them, what's important, and maybe even asking. I just picked up that maybe it's also important for you to clarify what your child thinks is valuable. And your child may not even speak yet, right? But if your child is a little itty bitty guy that doesn't speak yet, you know what's important to him or her based on what they choose to do, right? Or what grabs their attention, right? And of course, some of your children are a lot older, so then you do have that clarity. Anyhow, I think that's good. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you. I hope this helps someone, and I hope to see you again next month. Thank you so much for subscribing and leaving a comment and liking my channel. And thank you. I greatly appreciate all of you. Have a good one. Bye.